Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Will here at Schedule Fly, and I've got Aaron Vogel on the phone. Aaron's down in New Orleans. He's got this badass concept, District Donuts, and Aaron and I have talked a couple times. He hadn't been on the podcast, but I've gotten to know him a little bit over the years. Been a customer for a long time, and we were actually just talking about how he was listening to these birds in the background, and hopefully that will be a nice ambience during this episode. But I got 3 kids in homeschool right now doing their thing, and this is the only place I could find that was like remotely quiet So, Aaron, thanks for taking the time to do this, man.
Yeah, man. Thanks for including me.
All right, man. So we've talked before a little bit, but man, you have got a really cool concept with District Donuts. Made fresh, 6 different types of donuts every day. Everything y'all do is high end, fresh, high quality. Your branding is really good. Your presence is great. Your social media. I mean, you guys have a good formula there. What is the story behind District Donuts?
Yeah, man. So we started in 2013 and on Magazine Street in New Orleans. And kind of the idea was, man, what would it be like to have a spot that could do breakfast, lunch, dinner, highly accessible to people who want to spend $3 or $30, almost like a modern day urban diner, somewhere you can go that is just, no matter kind of what time of the day, there's going to be something offered there. A big staple there for us was going to be the donut program. That's what we envisioned in the beginning. The full name of the concept is Donuts.Sliders.Brew. And so kind of in the name, just like, man, we do donuts, we do sliders, and we do coffee. The brew was just kind of an old school way of saying coffee that my dad used to say. So we threw that word in there.
Yeah.
And the donuts from scratch every day. So we have a bakery in every one of our locations. We make the dough, the glazes, the sprinkles, the fillings, the cookies, toppings, anything like that. And we rotate them all on a weekly basis. And so now we have in Louisiana 5 different district restaurants, and then we have one in Las Vegas in the Cosmopolitan Hotel, and it's just been a fun and wild ride for us. So that's a little bit about the concept.
Las Vegas. How'd y'all wind up there?
Yeah, man, those guys at the Cosmopolitan were putting together essentially a counter service food hall experience, and kind of how they framed it in their marketing brain was a place for fast foodies to go. And if you've ever been to the Cosmopolitan, the 3rd floor has just an unbelievable full service dining experience from places all around the world that have gathered on that 3rd floor. And so the food and bev is a huge part of the program in that hotel. And so they wanted to do something a little bit more casual on the 2nd floor, and so they kind of searched the nation for different spots, and we're just super fortunate they found us and came to visit, fell in love with the concept, invited us out there, and then we were able to about a year and a half ago now, a little more than that, get a district open inside of the Cosmopolitan.
That's really cool. And you own all of these, correct? None of them are franchised?
Yeah, that's right. We started it as entrepreneurs in 2013.
Okay. Wow. Okay. How do you manage that when you've got the ones there and then you've got this one out in Vegas?
Yeah. So the first 12 months we went out to Vegas once a month.
Okay.
And since then we've been going out once a quarter.
Okay.
And it's been an excellent experience. The Cosmopolitan Hotel is just they're excellent in just their approach to their operations, and so to be with and around that team of people has just been a real gift. It seems as difficult to manage 5 locations kind of in your own backyard. That's been our experience. The distance is a 3-hour flight essentially, but the same routines, same traditions, same celebrations, same problems. All of those types of things exist there. So certainly have our hands full in the New Orleans area, and Cosmopolitan just feels like kind of one of the same. And we recently started kind of expanding what we're doing. We started a coffee bakery as well. So we now roast our own coffee. It's branded Cool Kids Coffee Roasters, which is kind of focused in part, kind of the mission behind it, obviously to serve excellent cup of coffee, but then to partner with kid-centric nonprofits in our cities through that brand. And then we recently opened a full-service plant-based restaurant in New Orleans called Seed as well. So we have a lot of fun things going on. And then just a couple months after we opened that concept, obviously COVID-19 became pretty prevalent. So we're in the middle of that right now, figuring out how to, work with a new concept through this difficulty.
Well, I want to get to that. The one of the great things clearly about being in the Cosmopolitan there in Vegas is the marketing alone of your brand is phenomenal with people coming from all over the world there. So that's great. Now, you're there in New Orleans, and if I understand correctly, New Orleans has gotten hit pretty hard with COVID. Is that right?
Yeah, it's obviously most people follow the news, and New Orleans has been one that's talked about a good bit. Yeah, it has been impacted pretty severely. It's hard to say how severe because I only know my locale, right? But I can tell you a few weeks ago, we've been able to keep all of our restaurants open, which has been a real kind of gift for us through this process to really have, something to put our hands to and emotions and heart and passion in our neighborhoods. Vegas had to close due to the Strip being closed down, but just a few weeks ago, being on the road, it was a ghost town every day, and so the level of comfort, at least in our location in New Orleans, has been rising for sure because there's a whole lot more people on the road. Sales are continuing to trend in a busier direction, which is great. But yeah, there's so many restaurants here, so many small businesses, one shop that a owner or chef opens up, and it's been a pretty big impact here for sure. So yeah, I'm sure like other cities though, it's been a tough time.
Did you go through the PPP process?
Yeah, we were able to, on day one of applications being accepted, we were able to get ours in, and on day two, the next day, we were approved, and then 7 days later, we received our funding.
Oh, wow.
So that was very fortunate. That's a story that I have found just talking to all my friends. That is a unique story. And just went with a local bank here, and for some reason or another, man, it went very, very quickly. And so we've been working inside of that model. I guess somewhere around April 11th is when we received the funding from the PPP program. So we're in it almost a couple weeks now. Congrats.
Who's your bank?
Fidelity Bank, just a small local bank here that we just started doing business with on our last concept that we just opened up. So, we have relationships with a couple other banks, but we decided to go with this one. It just seems a little bit more promising for whatever reason, that we had a sense of confidence with them, and man, it really worked out.
Can't tell you, man, it's amazing. I've done a lot of these episodes over the last few weeks in the middle of all this, and I'm asking almost everybody I've asked about PPP and the community banks. It's just fascinating to me how well they've done with this compared to the larger banks. Your story is I've only heard that story from, if I've heard it, it's been from people that went through community banks. And quite frankly, some folks went to community banks they literally did not already have a relationship with, and they came through for them. So what a big win for them. I'm glad to hear that. Glad Fidelity took good care of y'all and that you got the funding. Are you able, if you're open, I guess you're able to deploy it effectively too.
Yeah, that's right. We are every day. We're open 7 days a week, 7 a.m. to 9 p.m.
Wow.
And we've been able to, the good thing is we pivoted quickly as soon as this. We saw the first weekend of it really hitting, we saw a 25% drop. And when we see a 25% drop on a Saturday, something is obviously, we knew about it, but we know, okay, we're about to hit a curve. Sunday, we dropped 25%. And that immediate Wednesday, we made a huge pivot in our menu model and our labor model. And so we reacted, within 4 or 5 days of being able to see what it seemed was coming down with this virus, and it was highly beneficial for us because we were able, even before PPP, that our goal was, man, like if we can figure out how to pay our people, to pay our vendors, and to serve our neighborhoods well during this difficult time, then we feel like we're winning. And we had, kind of fingers crossed hopes that there would be some sense of rescue coming from funding from the government. Obviously, there were no details spelled out at that point. There was nothing to speak of, but it was in the middle of the month. We knew we didn't have any rents due. We didn't have electricity due. So we knew, like, just keep the vendors showing up by paying them on a weekly basis, pay our people so they can, have courage to come back to work and work with purpose, knowing that they would receive a paycheck, and then just be a story in the community that said, hey, district is still open, limited menu, a whole lot less people inside. You got to order in a little bit of a unique way, but you can still get the coffee, the donut, the sandwich, the biscuit sandwich, whatever it may be. So now the PPP coming alive obviously lets us not only maintain what we're doing, but then really strategize for these next, for us now, it's about 6 weeks left of what that funding should be lasting, given the guidance being about, 8 weeks of usage. So it's given us that, a North Star mentality where it's like, man, we can do this for the next 6 weeks. We know we're going to be okay. And now we're just really hunkering down and saying, okay, we have to think about our model differently. We have to think about our business, our neighborhoods differently. And we've been determined since the beginning, man, if we can come out of this thing different, we feel like in terms of our approach to our concept and our customer base, we have to see this whole thing differently. And if we just come out seeing it the way we always did, I feel like we're going to be setting ourselves up for failure. So we've really attacked some business model changes that we're now R&Ding to make sure that we can get outside of the PPP help, because in my mind, for sure, it's the test of time is going to be 8 weeks from now and beyond. If whether or not we are going to maintain any level of success is beyond PPP. And we're obviously pivoting and making some moves to ensure that what if we do drop 30% in revenue for the rest of the year? What if it's 40% drop for the rest of the year? And I think those things those are on the table. Those are options that could be there. And so we're trying to figure out, how to use wisdom right now during this time where we do have that light in front of us that says, hey, we can keep the doors open. We can be successful, but not just to sit on our hands during that time, but to make the most of it by, kind of looking at the next stage, which is just 2 months away for us, and how we can stay alive beyond that.
Yeah, man, that's wise. That seems to be a really common thread through a lot of the successful owners I've spoken to, is the amount of planning and modeling they're doing right now, like you, to say, okay, what happens if we're off 40%, 50%? Like, what do we do? How do we make this work at those levels? And you got to be ready for that. If not, best case, okay, you plan for that and it's better than that. Great. But if it's worse than plan, you got problems.
Right.
Well, okay. So Aaron, you guys have been doing this for 7 years now. What were you doing prior to this?
Yeah, I was in the restaurant family for a while. Started out with the Hillstone Restaurant Group, which here locally, the concept is Houston's Restaurant. But the Hillstone family has restaurants all around the country, about 50 of them in most of the major markets. So full service, a little bit more upscale, classic American cuisine. And my business partner and I, that's where we first met when I was 18 years old, right out of high school, started working there through school. So primarily in the full service restaurant business for a bit, did some counter service, which is what District is. We're a counter service concept, but did some counter service work as well with the concept here locally. Was able to be a part of that growth we had 6 locations when I went on, and when we launched District, we grew it up to 11 locations, which was extremely beneficial for us, my business partner and I, to be able to be a part of a restaurant family that had a lot of locations already, and then to be able to really be the corporate boots on the ground is what we were, the headquarter boots on the ground, to be able to grow that up and essentially double the size of it. And so that was a big part of it for several years in my 20s, and it's really what I went to school for. I was a pastor in a local church, and during kind of the 08 difficulty with financials, I became bivocational in my local church, went back into the restaurant business, And then from there was determined to either start a business in New Orleans or start a church in New Orleans, and the business is where we ended up going. So that's a little bit about my story and history.
Wow, that's really fascinating. Do y'all have investors, or did you self-fund?
Yeah, we self-funded.
Okay. Oh, congrats. Would be challenging right now to have investors too. You're having to worry about, you got so many things on your mind. So
that's right.
It enables you to be very nimble. That's why you're able to pivot so quickly and not have anybody to answer to. Well, congrats on that. Well done. You've built a really good business, and I'm very excited it's wonderful to hear somebody that's been able to keep their doors open, been able to continue to do what you enjoy, keep your staff employed, keep your community served with delicious food and beverage, and then be nimble and attack this thing like you have. It's
it really has been a joy. I mean, it's during a time like this, like, restaurants are such a sacred space. You really believe that? They're a space of comfort. They're a gathering space for people to enjoy one another. Restaurants are, we don't necessarily use this language, but they truly are a place of celebration. How many times people are walking into the 6 different district locations on a daily basis to celebrate one another or something. And whether that be a personal tradition that they're celebrating, or maybe a reconciled relationship or a new relationship that's being formed, those types of things are so exciting. And so when you go through hardship like this, and a community is going through difficulty, and every kind of the storm of life is throwing the traditions off. It's throwing off the sacred spaces. Kids are home. Traditions are broken. Things are very, very different around my house, around my entire life. Everything is different. And so we thought, man, we just have to. For us, it was like we just wanted to be a safe space for people to still celebrate during all of this turmoil, which there's a bunch of that going on right now, just in everyone's life, and all the questions and mysteries that are to come beyond 2020, and what's going to happen when and if. And so I don't think it's a small thing to be a part of a kind of that sacred space for people, where they can say, hey, there's a lot of things I don't know, but there's one thing I do, that there is some sense of surety and the things that I find to be foundational in my life. And that's not an overreaching statement. To some it might sound like it, but I really, really believe that that's what obviously food represents, and in spaces where they can gather to get food, and all of the things that have, come from people's everyday habits and routines. So we just talk to our staff. I mean, we're just so grateful for people to being able to show up to work, because we mean something to the neighborhoods that we serve right now, maybe in a unique way than 3 months ago. 3 months ago, everything was pretty normal, but so much is seemingly different now, and it is different now, but we hope to be that kind of space where at least they can say there's some sense of normalcy, tradition. And man, I mean, healthcare workers, this is some of the highlights for us, being able to see people come in, and how many times I've served guests at the registers and bouncing around to all the locations every day, and getting up front, just saying hi to people from a distance, and how many people with scrubs on come through and just say, man, this really helps me get through my day, or this is the thing that I look forward to every day when I get off work or I go to work. And in those moments, it's like, man, you realize how valuable the work we do is in being able to just provide a person some sense of comfort and warmth through a cup of coffee, or through just a slider or a biscuit sandwich, those types of things that people normally we take for granted, being able to go wherever we want. And now, we have some sense of value that, wow, if I can just do some things that I'm used to doing, it will give me some sense of normalcy, which we get to participate in that process, man. And it's very exciting for us. So it has been nice to be able to stay open for all of us, for the community, for the people who work with us, the neighborhoods, things like that.
Well, clearly very rewarding for you and your team. And I think that people are reassessing things they may have taken for granted in the past. It used to, you would take it for granted that if you wanted to go down to District Donuts and get coffee or get a sandwich or get, a donut or whatever, it was going to be there. And now so many things that, like you said, you took for granted are not there. You can't get
Right.
to them. You can't access them. You can't. So y'all being there is really important to people. I agree 100%. We've always felt that way here. It's why we've always focused on serving independents and small organizations, and it's just a different feeling that I've always gotten going into places that are independently owned, where you know the owner, you know the people that work there. It's a family atmosphere. It's warm hospitality. It's something unique to where you are, and a lot of people may have been not as conscious of that, and they are now. At least a lot of my friends and family that
Right.
I've talked to. So, well, listen, I congratulate y'all, and I tip my hat, and I thank you. I thank you for the opportunity. We thank you for the business. Y'all are awesome. And I know you have something else you got to jump to, but so I want to respect that. But I really appreciate this, Aaron. It was really fun talking to you and inspiring talking to you.
Cool. I appreciate that, man. And I tell this to people often, when they ask about different vendors I recommend, and this is truly sincere. I don't know that I've ever emailed you guys, through the contact us in the needs that I have, and there's been more than 24 hours that go by that I don't receive the return feedback or the update or anything like that. So thank y'all for doing what you do. I mean, sincerely, you make the life of an entrepreneur who's trying to grow and do more and expand, and then has to take all of the systems with them to go do those things and multiply them. And we've been with you since our inception.
Yeah.
And the reason we're still with you guys is because every time we have grown, you guys have shown to be able to do everything that is needed quickly. So thank you, seriously, and thank the team for me as well. I talk about you guys a lot when I'm talking to my friends who might be looking for an alternative to what they're doing. So cheers to you guys. But yeah, thank you so much for having me on as well.
Oh, man, that was really kind of you. Thank you, Aaron. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And you got my cell, man. Anytime I can do anything for you, just, call, text, whatever you need. Happy to help.
All right, great. Thank you, Will.
All right, see you, Aaron. Take care.
All right, bye-bye.